Damn, Homelander lasered my boss's head out because I don't know.
Something something oi ooey, something something Homelander,
Oi, oi,
something
oi,
something
oi,
bad
oi,
product,
oi, oi.
Gus Fring.
Oi, 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 la la.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Music Box, a show where I, Bimler, enjoyer, supreme overlord of music, spicing it up a little bit. I got called out a bit. Show an album to my friend Pyrine.
Hey, hey, hey. That's me.
And after a week of listening, we meet up and discuss. In this episode, we listened to Radiohead's OK Computer, 1997, considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest albums ever created. The benchmark Radiohead album, one of the benchmark alternative rock albums. It has a litany of inspirations and inspired a litany of artists and records. It's truly a monumental release. But what do we think about it? Me personally, I'm quite the Radiohead fan. You know this. I know this. And
Really?
You know, I really like this album. I think it's only overrated because people say it's the greatest album of all time. If they said anything less than that, it would be perfectly rated. Because, I think saying anything is the greatest of all time is kind of hard to say. But I do quite like OK Computer. It's my, fun fact, third favorite Radiohead album, which I think in some circles would actually get me lynched. But I don't really care. What do you think about it, Mr. Pyrine?
That's the thing. Whenever we're discussing something that's considered to be the greatest of all time, and our opinions aren't in line with what I would say the masses say, pretty much anything that we're going to divulge is going to get us lynched. Even if you're a diehard radio fan, it's gonna happen. I like the album quite a bit. I enjoyed it. It made me think a lot about how I listen to albums in particular. And obviously like the themes as well, but that kind of was a big thing when I was engaging with it. It had a lot of really cool things that honestly make me quite excited to listen to more Radiohead music, because if it's indicative of what's kind of coming next, especially some of the tracks on here, I kind of understand why you like Radiohead so much.
I'm glad to hear. I'm glad. Oh, I was muted in VR chat. I'm glad to hear. Because, I mean, that was the album that made me fall in love with Radiohead. I liked the bends and I was into it when I first heard it, but then I heard OK Computer and I was like, okay, all right, these guys are kind of good. And that opinion was only strengthened by further albums, especially and including the very next one when I first heard it, which I cannot wait to show you. In 2 weeks, because we do alternating. I kind of just want to jump the gun and show it to you next week, but I want to stick to my rules. We can drag it out. You can get used to every album. But, yeah, OK Computer is definitely, I think, indicative of future Radiohead records, even though I think they do... it's indicative in the way that, you know what OK Computer was to the bends? Yeah, they double down on that kind of change. And yeah, big fan. But in terms of the record itself, so I don't get too sidetracked.
We never do that on this show,
no.
By the way. We always stay on track.
We're
we
so
never talk
focused.
About things that aren't relevant.
We're
professional. We're professional.
Professionals have standards. Be polite. Be efficient. No.
Have a plan to talk about every album we listen to. Fuck. You go.
But yeah, I mean, I think if we want to talk about this record in its progression to the bends, especially, and what I think it does differently from that record that makes this so much better, in my opinion, we could talk about the sound. I think that's kind of a basic change, because it is similar, but it's a lot more electronically produced, more easygoing at times, and arguably more varied in its sound as well. I mean, you have upbeat tracks like Paranoid Android or Electioneering, and more mellow, slower moments like No Surprises or Let Down or The Tourist, Lucky, you know. But I think the big thing that makes this better is its cohesiveness and its songwriting consistency. That's kind of like three things, but genuinely, all three of those are cranked up to 11 from like a 7 on the bends, and I think that's what makes this album, or part of what makes this album so amazing. I don't know. I'm running out of things to say. You gotta lead me on here. There's a lot to go
Do you know
over.
anything?
Do I know anything?
There
No.
is a lot to go over.
They scoop my
I
brain
think, I
out.
mean,
It's just Radiohead.
in just personal preference, I just think I probably do just prefer the instrumentation to OK Computer to compare to the Bends. Bends is a lot more like, folksy, classic instrumentation. This is more electronic. And just as like a preference thing, I generally prefer that. It's a lot more experimental. It does a lot more wild things. And I think that really works to its strength a lot because it's gives the songwriters a lot more opportunity to try and pull at a lot of varied emotions at once. Like a lot of varied feelings that can't always be done when it's something as kind of, I don't want to say flat as if boring, but kind of like set in a mold, something like the Benz was.
Yeah.
I really like OK Computer for that. I think just in general, I'm going to say I do like OK Computer a good bit more than the Benz. I think it is a straight up letter grade higher.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think talking about like the instrumentation and stuff only would like I think account for 40% at most of the general quality of the record because Radiohead in particular, other rated like tracks have made like albums, excuse me, made me think about this, but this is one of those tracks that like you have to actually sit down and listen to get the full experience of it.
Mm.
It made me think about like the difference between how people would like absorb music between like active listening and passive listening. And I think if you get into an album like this or the Bends and you just kind of sit back, don't really pay attention, you might like it. You probably think it's like, oh, it's okay. But at least in my experience, I probably wouldn't be too interested. But if you actually sit down and engage with the album on its own terms, there is so much more there to actually enjoy. And that made me think about, of course, that's the reason you like it, because that's the way you normally consume music, right? A
Yeah.
lot more actively.
Yeah. Usually when I'm listening to an album in full, it is like at the very least secondary to an experience I'm having. If not, it is the experience I'm having. It is the primary focus. I'm definitely not as like I can't like I do listen to music in the background a lot. It's like everything that I do, but usually when I listen to a new record, I am either doing something minimal or doing nothing at all to fully soak it in. And I mean, yeah, OK Computer was kind of that, and most of Radiohead was as well. And I think that did add to my enjoyment of it. I kind of feel like, especially with that perspective, it's like a learning thing. Like I feel like once you adjust to the record with that active listening, you can enjoy it more passively because you just know all of its quirks and you already love it. So you don't need to fully engage with it as much anymore and to still kind of get it, I guess. But you're definitely right. If you were listening to it kind of in the background on the first go, you're probably not going to get a lot of the details and the fine things that make it great. Because it isn't like Radiohead. Sometimes they are, but OK Computer, they definitely aren't like super out there. It's a relatively like, even though it is experimental and does do a lot of things new, it's not really flashy. It's just kind of like an accent on a style of alternative rock. And I don't know, not a lot of that you might not glean from a less focused
It's a lot
listen.
more like it's a lot more like substance over style, which I
Yes.
think has to be a big reason why not everyone can get into Radiohead. You basically have to listen to it in a different way. Like you can't listen to it like a lot of people would just engage most music on the surface level. Like imagine like you're in a car and you're just listening to whatever track comes on. You probably wouldn't prefer this over something that's just like a lot more, that's flashy, because you can't actively pay attention to something like that when you're driving. It's the same thing here. And I can respect that. I before this, like before we started doing this show, I used to engage like in most of the music I would listen to in that way. But it really does teach you, and it's taught me, if you could actually sit down and listen to what the hell they're doing, you can see, holy shit, this is some really good stuff in here. There's some really like neat flavors that they're like dipping in. Like, if we want to immediately start talking out about it, the first track is just super indicative of that. Like some of the lyrics, I mean, throughout the entire album, goes so hard. But
Mm.
I think the first like opener, Airbag, is pretty much super perfect indicative of what you're going to take from this album and what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It is very, very on point, setting up a theme, setting up like what they're going to do compositionally and how they're going to move going forward. And I think it's a new experience for me that I actually quite enjoy.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, Airbag is a phenomenal opener. It's like you said, it does set up the themes of the record very well. It's about Tom getting in a car crash but being saved by the airbag, and it's like, um, sorry, my brain just, you know, the thing where you like talk and then your brain just like goes nah and just goes flatline out of nowhere, and you completely lose your train of thought.
That, no, that's most of the things I say. 90% of the stuff that comes in my mouth is complete bullshit, nothing. That doesn't
No,
mean
I was
anything.
saying
'Cause
something, I just
talk a
lost
lot.
it, like just completely.
Oh,
Sorry, we were talking about
so you're
airbag.
stupid
Yes,
then.
yes, okay. So Tom gets in a car crash, and his life gets saved by the airbag. And that's kind of like, well, the car is deadly because he got in a car accident, which you can't have without cars, and that would have killed him. But because he could rely on the airbag to save his life, was the technology a good thing or a bad thing? It kind of has that interesting dichotomy, which, I mean, is something that humanity has needed to consider often with technology, is like, is it helping or hurting us? It's kind of doing both. Which matters more? Um, and yeah, I mean, that is kind of a big conflict in the record, as well as isolation, some political stuff, you know, just being a very melancholic record as a whole, and whatnot. But Airbag is kind of the perfect way to set up the vague story of this record. It's not super conceptual. There's not like a character or a narrative, just themes. But Airbag sets it up very well.
It's a very simple song, honestly. There's not like I don't think there's. It's not to its like. It's not saying it's bad or anything like that. It's just very simple in a way that I can enjoy. It's basically, to me, it's like an emergence or a re-emergence into the world that the album is setting up. Like it is. Again, it came out like 1997. Imagine this, like, this is you emerging into a millennium where all these ideas and these concepts exist. This technology, these political climates, the culture. This is like you basically coming into this world to me.
Doing what into
I really,
this world?
you had to do that. Like, that was just you. I want to make it clear to the audience that that was you that just did that right there. That you just decided to be gross. You just had to make it gross. Airbag is also funny because it sounds like Christmas music.
It
You
does
listen
have
to
the
it.
jingle bells in
It has the jingle bells in it.
Well, I mean, OK Computers, I said it to you. I feel like, not because of Airbag, but Airbag's a big part of it. I feel like it's a very wintry record.
It is.
I
It
mean,
definitely
the
is.
album cover being all white and just a lot of the sounds of the record being more cold and melancholic, it feels wintry. A lot of the reverb.
I think it's
and
like,
whatnot.
honestly, it's like a New Year's record, honestly, to me. Like a turn of the millennium thing. I think it would specifically, if I were to put it in like a time period, that's when I think it would take the most place.
Huh.
Like either at New Year's, right before, or right after.
Fair enough. But yeah, no. Airbag Airbag definitely does feel like an
Okay.
emergence, or like you are initiating with the record, like it is a sort of awakening almost. I mean, that's kind of what Tom felt after that car accident. He felt invigorated again, like he felt this sort of power. Like in the chorus, he says, "In an interstellar burst, I am back to save the universe." Like he feels this bigger sense of importance because he survived that crash. But I think something that this record does really well is completely smother that hope and that feeling of agency and independence immediately in the next track, actually. Like Paranoid Android, it's I don't know if you've picked up on this. It's about getting in a Tom York getting into a bar fight with somebody. is like the main event the song is framed around. Obviously, it's not just recounting events, but that is what its, you know, framework is. And at the end of the song, it's kind of him, like the slower bit towards the end of the track is kind of him being like taken away for, you know, assumedly fighting somebody. And it kind of feels like, oh, he tried to take control of that situation and it's been taken away from him. Which is a theme repeated in tracks afterwards, like Subterranean Music Alien, or Letdown, or Karma Police, or Exit Music for a Film being my favorite in this sort of arc of the record, I guess. Being entirely basically a fantasy of escapism, of running away and cursing all of those who've wronged you and all those pesky authorities who don't respect you. But it really is just kind of a fantasy, and the record makes that pretty clear by the next song being Let Down. I think it's pretty genius. Yeah.
Tommy York really does just like to. I mean, the entire band likes to just dive into misery a lot. Like, they just love to go fucking head first into it and just saturate you with it. Like, fucking sinking you in, like, the molasses of just misery and, like, cynicism, I think. It's a really unique way of doing it. Like, obviously, the songs engage in catharsis a lot. They will put you through a lot of negative feelings just so you can almost kind of by proxy vent those yourself. It's not a new concept. The way Radiohead does it, though, I think is really, really nice, where it's not like immediate. It is a like putting the pieces together brick by brick as every single layer is like put onto each other as like a scene is built throughout the entirety of these songs. I think it kind of waxes and wanes between some of the tracks on how effective it is. I think when it comes to like the most effective, probably gonna be skipping ahead a bit. It's gonna be Climbing Up the Walls.
So true.
But for like terms of least effective, honestly, people like it. I'm gonna have to say Paranoid Android is probably the least effective in that regard.
Really?
Not that it's not at all, but I think Paranoid Android not only is one of the weaker tracks in the album, in my opinion.
Dang.
It's also the one that
will get you lynched.
I think. I know. Isn't it like considered to be one of the greatest musics of all greatest songs
it's
of all
the
time?
fan favorite on the record. It's like that's the second time this has happened. You said the same thing about Fake Plastic Trees on the Bends, which is like the fan favorite of that record. You're gonna get killed, dude. You're gonna be going into watch, guys. Next record, he's gonna be saying Everything in Its Right Place is the worst song on Kid A. And then he's going to say that Pyramid Song's the worst one on Amnesiac, and that There is the worst one on Hail to the Thief, which I actually agree with. And then he'll say Weird Fishes is the worst one on In Rainbows, which I will kill him on the episode for. Sorry.
You've actually showed me Weird Fishes before. I remember that. I thought that was okay. I thought that was fine.
Hopefully you'll appreciate it more. Now that you've grown as a listener, and in the context of the record, especially. But
Don't baby me with the aristocrat voice. I can't handle that right now.
Oh, Pyrine, how far you've come, how much the brain rot has consumed you, and you're a true virgin now. You're a true
oh my god, this tasty Mossberg. Oh, it's so delicious.
This 38 special, so delicate. I
want to say, it's not to say I don't like Paranoid Android. I do like it. It's just like in terms of the kind of sink and swell it has. Well, I did like the theme. I did like the general idea they were kind of putting out when it comes to like presence and image. It, to me, didn't do it as effectively as other songs in the album. It kind of started to drag a little bit and overstay its welcome.
I don't think so at all. I feel like it's very much a grand opening to the record. It kind of... Airbag is like an overture, but Paranoid Android is like the real opening moment of the record, and I think it does really well. Like I said to you when we first listened to the record, it's kind of like Radiohead's Bohemian Rhapsody, It's very multi-phased, changes up a lot. I really like that about the track, and I think all of its parts individually are great. Putting them together with the change-ups and the thematic element of it's really good. It's not my favorite song on the album, but it's definitely like top 3 for me. My favorite is probably Climbing Up the Walls, which I'm glad. I mean, I knew you liked it when we first listened to the record, but I'm glad you still like it,
Yeah.
and it's a favorite of
No,
yours. It's such a good song.
it's my favorite on the record. It's
Yeah.
my favorite too.
I feel
It's
like
the best
I
one.
don't hear that enough. I don't hear that song is the best record on the, like, it's a very underrated song just because, like, I'm always hearing Paranoid Android or Exit Music or No Surprises or hell, Karma Police or Let Down. All right, people are saying those songs are better, but I'm like, no, Climbing Up the Walls though. That song is great. Are we what? Like, that song blew my mind when I first heard it, and I still love it. Like, that scream at the end of the song. I've been listening to this album for like over 2 years, like constantly now, and I still get freaked the fuck out by hearing him scream at the end of that track. He doesn't do shit like that ever again. That, oh, oh, it's really good.
Oh,
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 no,
oh.
no, no. That's not what I was doing. Don't put sounds in my
Oh.
mouth. That might want to rephrase that. Um,
Dude, what are you doing? This is no. Stop it. Stop it. Get some help.
yeah, I probably need it. But yeah, Climbing Up the Walls is really good.
It is very good. It's very, very raw, in my opinion. Music to me hits the hardest when it's raw. When it's raw. And there is such a potent, just like you've cracked open someone's skull and are like scrambling around their brain and like looking inside their head. That's like what this like entire song is to me. It is such a potent like dive in like a slow painting palette of just turmoil and misery, hopelessness, despair, and honestly like mental anguish and madness. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's not a happy song. It is not a fun song to listen to.
No.
But I think it is so well put together that it kind of, despite like how miserable it is, it kind of shines, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is probably my favorite Radiohead song so far, to be honest. Like, I can't say it's what I'd listen to if I was like casually listening to anything,
Yeah.
but it's so good.
It's really good. I mean, that song, I mean, you kind of said it yourself. I feel like it intentionally is like this. It's about, especially like in the 90s, there wasn't as much attention paid to mental illness, and the song is very much highlighting that. And it's just, oh man, I feel like, and it's kind of the connection I form with the song as well. That is one of those songs that can just ruin my mood anytime I listen to it. Because it very much kind of just reminds you, like, oh, like, you will have these issues for the rest of your life. And there is nothing you can do about it. Like, you know, and there's a line in the song, you know, we're friends till we die. Which is very much, to me, like, this song is being sung from the perspective of insanity, or from delusion, or from a mental plague. Right, it's sung. It is a like that line, and of course the chorus of the song, which is oh my god, so good. It's just, it paints that perfect image of, like, almost as a companion, sort of that mental state and that frame of mind, just driving you to madness. And that's the ending of the song is the climax of that. It feels like a breaking point. It's like, and the lyrics in the verses as well kind of paint that as almost like somebody snapping and doing something horrible, like killing somebody or committing a crime, or like I told you, I was like, this is music you kill people to. Like, this is like terrifying shit. And
there's two halves of this. There's music that you kill people to. There's two wolves. There's Tremonti, and then there's this.
There's like cool music to kill people to, and like scary music to kill people to, and this is the latter. And even like, oh my god, the way Tom sings on this song too, he sounds like kind of inebriated and like whiny in such a ghastly way, especially on the chorus too. Like his voice is distorted a little bit, so it can like peak at times, and that kind of adds to this feeling of unease. And the way the melody's sort of repetitive, sort of simple, the "I'll be there" bit, and of course climbing up the walls, is just like, oh. But I don't know. I love that song. I don't want to dwell on it too much because I feel like we've been talking about it for 10 minutes. But no,
I actually you made it. Oh, but
say it.
Yeah,
go.
I was gonna say that I actually brought up another good point. I want to talk about another thing I think this makes this album great. Yorkie Poo, his vocal performance.
Yorkie Poo, I'm getting you to say it.
Yeah.
That was a terrible
I wrote it in my notes, dude. I wrote that in my fucking...
The brain rot is cutting deep today, okay.
No, but I mean it. This album wouldn't be, like, nearly as good without him. There is something about his vocal performances, like, I don't think... It's not even I would think he's the best, but there's no one else it could be, in my opinion.
True.
There is a canter and, like, tone, and the way he draws out certain words and lyrics and emphasizes certain things, it's just, like, he has a way of weaving, like, his words into something magical to make you want to kill yourself, dude. It's really good.
Oh, it gets so much worse. But yeah, you're right. I mean... This is where I think he had a lot of great vocal moments on the bends, and he definitely showed a lot of growth there, but like he's come into his own on OK Computer, and he's kind of shown how well versed he is as well in doing a variety of vocal styles at this point in his career. Climbing Up the Walls, being that very raspy kind of like falsetto-y, kind of croony sort of vocal style, which is also shown on what's the other one I'm thinking of? There's another one, I promise. Oh yeah, The Tourist. And also arguably Let Down, although I think he is a bit more upbeat on that song. But then he also has that raunchy rock vocalist kind of capabilities on songs like Paranoid Android or Electioneering, which I think is a great vocal performance by him as well. It's just so fun. But yeah, no, he's definitely improved a lot on this record. And,
should we talk about Electioneering?
Yeah, let's talk about Electioneering.
It's a bit of like a splash of cold water on your face, isn't it?
After Fitter Happier, yeah. We should talk about Fitter Happier. That's what we should talk about. Fitter.
That's a good.
Happier.
That's a good thing. That's it. We should start with that.
What a song. Air quotes song.
It's 50% music, and I fucking love it for that. I don't normally like things that are just weird, talking, esoteric stuff. Fitter Happier works for me. It is just like, whoa.
It's literally like I've seen. I think I've mentioned these kinds of videos on the channel before. You know those videos where it's like what listening to blank artist is like, and it's like random meme videos, snippets. Every time Fitter Happier pops up in one of those, it's the Patrick Bateman slow zoom. Every time I've seen it several videos because that's this song. It feels like such like. It comes out of nowhere after Karma Police, which is a relatively normal song, and then goes into Electioneering, which is like you said, splash of cold water, like ice bucket challenge after Fitter Happier. It's like, what the hell is this song? Like, I'm almost kind of glad it comes out of nowhere, as it kind of adds a sort of realism to it, and that it just kind of comes and goes, and also it makes it hit harder. Like if it went into...
I don't know if you've ever... I'm sorry, I just interrupted you, and I should fucking kill myself for that. Go ahead.
No, go.
I was gonna say, the way it's kind of, like, composed, it came out later, but it reminds me of Milk Inside a Bag of Milk or Milk Outside a Bag of Milk.
Oh.
The soundtrack to that game is very, very similar, and I honestly quite love this song. I don't know if I'd say it's, like, a favorite of mine, but I adore it for what it's done.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a... It's like... You know how when you get like a meal and they put like a garnish on it that's not really meant to be eaten? It is a spice that makes the rest of the album better by just being there, I think. It is necessary to tie the experience together. I really like it for that. And it's weird because not only is Fitter Happier like a what the fuck, then you go to Electioneering, which is also like a what the fuck.
Yeah.
But, like, because those two songs together are like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah. I was gonna.
Electioneering, I think, is almost like the polar opposite of what Fitter Happier is.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say before there was a good chunk of when I listened to this record where I thought like Electioneering just shouldn't be on the album, and it would be more cohesive for Fitter Happier to go straight into Climbing Up the Walls, because those two tracks are very tonally similar. But I mean, I just expressed before. I kind of actually like that Electioneering is there because it makes both tracks stand out more on their own, and puts more emphasis on climbing on the walls into No Surprises, which I think is a really great moment on the record. But also, Electioneering is a great song. I'm tired of people like shitting on it. It's so fun. That instrumental kicks so much ass.
It is.
That vocal performance is crazy. Like that chorus.
It is.
It's really fun.
Spitting.
It's really fun. It kind of gives the Onceler from the Lorax in like the best way possible. I feel like, fuck, you know what? Who needs How Bad Can I Be? Who needs Biggering, right? You guys know that? Now, who needs that song?
Don't shit on Biggering. Don't shit on
No,
Biggering. You can
that's
shit
a
on
great
How Bad
song.
I Can Be. Don't
But
shit
that's
on
a great
Biggering.
song. But put Electioneering in the movie. I don't. we need the Onceler chopping down truffula trees to
just dub it
Electioneering.
over.
When I go forwards. Oh.
He's true. Okay. We have like a re-release of the Lorax. Just redo the movie. Put in Electioneering, and then put in like Fitter Happier also there as well. Just find a place for it too. Just find a place.
Why? It wouldn't even make sense. No.
Just find a place for it. It's fine.
Fitter Happier is the Lorax's perspective.
You greedy dirtbag.
Yeah, instead of Let It Grow, it's Fitter they don't, not even like, it doesn't even mean anything. They just start singing that. Like the crowd of people just start reciting the words in unison, and Mr. O'Hare gets so like unnerved, he just leaves.
That's like a fucking analog horror. That's like a creepypasta. The Lost Lorax.
Dude, that would be. Somebody needs to make that. Someone with like photorealistic eyes and mouths, like analog horror, and it's just
And then
O'Hare
they start like bleeding, and all of a sudden, it cuts and it's like static. Mr. O'Hare's like dead in the middle of like a circle. And there's a tree growing out of him.
Bitter, happier, more protected. It's so bad. Let's get back on track. Oh my fucking god. What?
Yeah.
Sorry, we slipped a little. We went into our garbage bit mode.
Why don't we talk about the big three? I think like popular tracks on this album, because there's 3 tracks in this album that I think most people would have heard even if they haven't listened to the album. If I'm correct, it was Exit Music. That it was a what was it? No Surprise? Was it No Surprises?
Yep.
I think. And then there's one more. I forget the name, though I know which one it is. Karma Police. That's what it is. Karma Police.
Yeah, I mean,
What do you have to say about those?
I think I definitely see why they're popular. I mean, Exit Music I think is mostly popular because it's been used in a lot of things. It's been used famously in Black Mirror. It's been used in Person of Interest. And many other things as well. So I get why that song's popular. Also, I think it deserves it because Exit Music is one of the best songs on this album. I think it's definitely the like fan favorite that I agree with the most is Exit Music for a film. It's such a great song. Very climactic. The progression on it's fantastic. Tom York's vocals are so ghastly in the opening and so still ghastly at the climax, but in like a more compelling way. Karma Police, I actually used to be like meh on, but I've kind of come to love it. I love how dejected it is. I think the moment it really clicked for me was actually when I saw the first episode of Invincible Season 2, and that song was used in it, and I kind of like finally fully got it. I was like, oh, this is really good, which is weird because normally I don't like seeing my favorite music in shows because I feel like it might misuse the song. I think Karma Police is used perfectly in Invincible, but I'm not going to talk about that too much because this isn't about Invincible. But yeah, I think it's a great song, and I've always liked No Surprises. It's such an unmistakable
Mm,
milestone on the record, and I think it deserves all of its recognition.
mhm, 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 mhm. I think these songs honestly illustrate my point about active versus passive listening to the best, because I think they three together are probably the best to listen to passively. It's the reason I think why they're so popular, not only because they're, putting a lot of like a popular media. They have enough going on that you don't have to pay too much attention to draw a lot of enjoyment out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you listen to them, you can. Like, you could pull a lot of active enjoyment out of them, but I think in terms of just like, if you just want something to put on that you know you're probably gonna like, they're the safest bets. That's not like to their detriment at all. I quite like them. I think No Surprises as well is probably another favorite of mine, like second place out of most of the tracks of the record.
Dang.
It's quite solid. It's very la la until you listen to it, I
It's very
think.
la la. Yeah. No, that's true. I
Until
think.
you actually listen to it.
Oh, that was a
You
tiny
know what I mean?
fish. But yeah, no, you're right. I love. I mean, my favorite moment on the song is obviously the climax of it, where they go, "Such a pretty house, such a pretty garden," and then you have Tom screaming in the background, "Get me out of here," which I love. Kind of being like, "Oh yes, this sanitized, surprise-free, neutral environment with absolutely no vitality is perfect and la la, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it." It's kind of like message wise, I think the most broad and effective on the record. And it kind of mirrors Fitter Happier in a lot of ways. Thematically alone, not really musically, obviously. It just like, because Fitter Happier, what it is as a song, is literally just repeating a mechanical voice repeating like most things that a modern consumer or citizen would consider good, right? Like a car with strong tires, good romance, staying in shape, working a good job, making money, going to the bank, and all that stuff. But it's so unnerving and put together in a way, and it kind of paints the idea that people are so mechanical and lifeless these days.
Mm.
Pigs in cages on antibiotics, perhaps. And I think No Surprises is very much that, but kind of songified really, really well. And I appreciate it for that.
It's kind of funny. Like, it almost proves its own point, because if you were just to listen to the song and not really pay attention, you'd be like, "Oh, this song's so happy! Oh my god, Tom, you're so happy!" Then you actually fucking listen to it, and he's like, and then again, fucking Patrick Bateman zoom in.
Yeah.
It's I like it because of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I was gonna say something else, but then I forgot what I was gonna say.
I mean, I feel like that song's contrast largely comes from its sound versus its lyrics. Like, all you need to do, the very first
Yeah.
lyrics in the song will turn you off of the happy vibe. Like, a heart that's full up like a
Yes.
landfill, a job that slowly kills you, bruises that won't heal. Like, unmistakable lines from the record. Ones that will stick with you until you perish. And incredibly effective hooks into the song, immediately establishing the tone from, instead of being this happy kind of sleepy song, to this desperate, drained of a song. And I think it's really,
Yeah.
really
Oof.
powerful.
So she's gonna ask, out of this entire record, is there a particular line that you think is your favorite? That you can remember?
Ooh. I don't know. That's hard. There's a lot, frankly. I do think the opening of No Surprises is up there. I think the chorus of Climbing Up the Walls is probably a contender in terms of like my favorite lyrics in the song.
Yeah.
The ending of Letdown as well. The whole "one day I'm gonna grow wings, a chemical reaction, hysterical and useless." That bit's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot. Exit music too. The whole like "we hope that you choke" bit is like, damn. Like, there's a lot of stuff. But I don't know. If I had to choose one, that's hard. And obviously, "A Pig in a Cage on Antibiotics" is another one too.
That's iconic, though.
Yeah,
That's an iconic line.
yeah. I guess.
Put that on my. I'm gonna have that tattooed on my back and my forehead
Yeah.
and my arms.
Mm-hmm. Um.
I'm not gonna do that.
Don't do that. Don't. You don't want to be telling everybody you're a pig. Even if...
No, I don't want that. How am I gonna get a fucking job if that's tattooed on my fucking forehead, Bimler?
Please, I just want a latte. Have you heard of this band called Radiohead?
like really meekly going up to kind of, can I have an Americano cappuccino? They leap through my fucking forehead. Kill yourself. Bolded, underlined like 5 times. I can tell you what I think my favorite line is. I think there is a lot of good ones, but looking through it, it's in the last song of The Tourist. I think it's, they asked me where the hell I'm going at 1,000 feet per second.
Ooh, that's a great
one,
line.
To me, is a pretty fucking solid line, because it just strikes with me so hard. I mean, I think the last song in general, probably I connected the most with out of like any of the like songs in the album in terms of the themes. They all, a lot of them really did hit me, but I think the theme of this one did particularly hit me. Just like, that is so potent. Like, just like, what the hell are you doing, man? Why are you just moving through life just constantly so fast, not actually doing anything, not actually enjoying anything, just going through the motions doing that shit? It's like, yeah, why am I doing that, Tom York? Help me, help me, help me.
Another $1 million to...
I don't think we could put that in.
Hey, you'll be editing this one, so...
Yeah. I'll put in something nice. Another $1 million to Glaggoland. We'll put that instead.
Another $1 million to Gus Fring. I'm really glad you like The Tourist. That was the track that took the longest to grow on me, but I do love it. I think it's such an interesting, like, kind of depressing lull of an ending for the record. But I think it's very fitting. Like, OK Computer isn't the kind of record that would have a grand finale. It doesn't make sense because it just wouldn't work for what the record's going for. And I think The Tourist is the perfect way to end it. It wraps it together, forms a bit of a thematic loop, but at the same time ties things up in a nice way as well. And it's, yeah, I think it's a great closer. I don't really know what else to say. But that is a great...
I mean, it kind of makes sense. If you're literally considering this as a physical record, you probably wanted to have, like, practically some looping capability. If you're just going to be, like, listening to it while you're making dinner or whatever, it kind of makes sense, because it came out in 97. That was likely still a thing that people did back then, utilize physical records. Unlike now, the modern age has made such things...
Yeah.
Oh, you're right, CDs too. Those are things that exist. When's the last time I fucking saw a CD? Jesus. That's crazy.
1 second ago. That was bad. I'm sorry. But no, I feel like
I start like there's like blood runs down my nose. I start drooling. Pyrine, are you okay?
I mean, like, I don't know. I think CDs is honestly even more of an argument for looping, because you don't really loop vinyls unless you were literally flipping it back over and then playing it again. But CDs would automatically loop, which I don't know. There's probably something to be said about that. But I don't know. I like it. So, sometimes I feel like it's been done so many times that I'll be like, ugh. The record's looping. It's got a loop. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. It's like everybody's doing this. The Wall did it, and now everybody's doing it. But it's like it works really well, and I can't hate it on OK Computer. Like, I cannot hate it. In fact, I actually quite love it.
I don't know why you brought up the Jonah Jameson voice for saying that, but it did help enunciate your point. Hater, if you bring me one more record that loops on me, you're out of a job.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, I don't know. I don't really like it when records just loop for the sake of looping, but like the way that OK Computer does it adds credibility to both of its opener and its closer, which is really cool. And more records should do it like that, I guess. But yeah.
More records should just be good, you know what I mean?
That's so true. I love good music. Speaking of good music, you got anything else you want to say about OK Computer by Radiohead?
I don't think I do. I honestly said everything I kind of wanted to say. I had a few talking points, and I've been over basically all of them that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I said at the start of this video I love this record. It is my third favorite Radiohead album, but that's not really a fault of the record. It's more that the two that I place above it I find nearly infallible, and one of which is my literal favorite record, like, ever. So it's got competition in its own discography. But, like I said,
You probably will kill me when I
in the
inevitably
last...
not like something on that record.
Yeah, I will. Because that, like, spoiler alert, that record, which you may know, I've probably mentioned which record is my favorite. I'm not going to do it here because I'm an asshole. You know it. And if you've watched all the episodes, you probably know it. I'm giving that record a 100 when we do it. And if you don't, I will be ripping that cat costume off of you and making you go bald in front of the audience.
This is my skin. You're gonna rip my skin
you
off?
You can take the hood off. I know you can.
No, it's like a you know how like kangaroos have pouches? This is like a pouch I just pull over my skull. It's still my skin.
Okay, alright. But yeah, I love this record. I did mention in the last... It's a little gross. I mentioned at the end of last episode, the Teens of Denial episode, that that record was my favorite one that we reviewed so far, but it would be immediately usurped by OK Computer. I probably shouldn't have been so certain on that, as I think those records are about even for me, quality-wise. I would give this record a 97, just like that record. I think it's basically perfect. I don't have quite... Like I said, there's some albums in Radiohead's discography that I find just a literal... better. But it's phenomenal. And it deserves how much people find it important and love it and worship it and all that stuff. It's good, I guess. It's good.
Final words. It's good, I guess. 97.
Yeah. I mean, it's all right.
I did this thing where I did last time where I gave each of the tracks an individual score, then averaged them at the end. I ended up not liking that score, so I said fuck it and just gave it my own. I think I'm going to give this album myself a 91. I don't think I fucked with it as hard as you did, and I don't think I probably ever will. I think just our tastes are going to be fundamentally different. Unless, like, you reshape and condition my brain to, like, brainwash me, in which case I guess they would be. But I still really appreciate this album. I really see why people do like it. And I think there's a lot of things to like on it. This guy has opinions.
No, you don't know about the machine.
Okay.
Sorry, keep talking.
I think it's okay. 91 is it's like an A minus. It's okay, I guess. I don't know. It's like okay.
Listen. Okay. But hopefully next Radiohead review we do, he'll be fixed. And he'll be drooling. He'll be saying
what?
He'll be doing nothing but like drool coming out of his mouth. His eyes will be rolled back into his skull, and he'll go.
All right, guys. We're back here today. We've lobotomized our co-host. He's getting a little bit. He's getting a little bit too rambunctious, so we had to fix him.
That's fucked up. That is
it
horrible.
Is fucked up.
But yeah,
that is fucked up.
In the next episode, we won't be doing another Radiohead album. That's going to be for the episode after. But for this one, we've got something even better. I know I said my favorite album of all time is a Radiohead record, but I'm going to show you my second favorite record of all time. This record right here. Ooh, ah. Rate Your Music users are going
that one right there.
right now. But yeah, this record, very excited to show it to him. Very curious as to what he'll think. I absolutely adore it. I don't talk about it very much. But God, I love this album, and I hope you do too. And I hope you do too.
Okay.
If you've heard it, or if you ever decide to listen to it, it's really good.
And hey, if you like this video, you know what you should do. Give it a like.
Oh.
Subscribe.
I mean, I guess.
Hit the bell icon.
Yeah, sure.
Leave a comment.
If you feel like it.
Let us know what you think.
I mean, yeah, you can.
Well, I would appreciate it.
I mean, I guess I would. I guess. Yeah. I'm not really... Yeah.
He's so humble. He's so humble.
Down to earth. Handsome. What were the bullet points I used? It was like earnest, down to earth,
short, egotistical, 5 years
evil,
old,
Cheshire cat grin having, slimy.
Slimy? You talk about lobotomizing me, you're saying I'm fucking
Okay,
slimy? What's
all
your
right,
problem,
let's cut
dude?
this off before we get violent, okay? We'll
Cut
see
it,
you
cut
all
the beef,
in
cut the beef, cut the
in the
beef.
next video. Bye. Goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
We made it. No way.
He thought he could give me video editing privileges and get away without the bit.